Play it normal. Don't be too quick to convert. You don't want him to think that you're an easy lay, do you?
Oh, about Wes. He is Wesley John Bond, paroled from San Quentin 3 years ago. He headed up a white racist group called the Aryan Brotherhood in the joint. He has a sheet going back 15 years, all of it in California. Forcible rape, sodomy, aggravated assault, and he tried to be a mercenary in South Africa.
Yeah, I just wish I knew how he wound up here.
Shit floats. Well, stay away from Wes. He's not just a freak, he's a freak's freak, and Gary's using him.
We've got nothing on the others. They seem like a bunch of losers.
You know, if I was Gary, I'd like losers. I bet Gary likes losers. You treat losers right to make good soldiers. I learned that in the Marine Corps.
I learned it in the FBI. Take it.
He finds it, I'm dead.
Make sure he doesn't find it. You're just doing a job. That's all it is.
The Wednesday premiere Betrayed continues after News at 10.
Peel the top off a delicious ski low-fat yogurt. And you could be peeling your top off on a tropical island. The instant holidays and cash promotion from Ski. Lick top for details.
How can we at Midland improve our service? Listen to the public.
Ah, thanks. If they had the discipline that we had in the service, well, it'd be a different world.
I hate queuing.
I wish I'd get more eye contact in the bank. It drives me crazy.
Big open plan offices.
Climates.
Why can't we have more reliable cash machines?
Well, if I can look cheerful, then so can they.
I'm sinking.
Midland is committed to being as straight with you as you have been with us. Midland, the listening bank.
What I want to know is anyone seen those three girls?
The Bill. Trouble on and off the streets.
Can we calm this right down before somebody else gets hurt?
I think you should take a look at this.
I want this slippery toe rag nailed to the floor on this one. Right? Right.
This is our home! We haven't done anything wrong!
You have now!
The Bill. Thursday bother at 8 on Central.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found the somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, or even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you.
Time now for News at 10.
Major decides if France says no, Maastricht is dead. Behind Serbian lines, the guns that pounded Sarajevo. Refugees from the fighting arrive in Britain by the coachload. Somalians' long march for the food that never came. And the button-top revolution for canned drinks. Good evening. Downing Street has made it clear the government will not seek parliamentary ratification of the Maastricht Treaty on the future of European Union if the French reject it in their referendum later this month. The treaty would be dead. Opinion polls suggest a close result in France, so the future of the treaty, mapping out closer European political and economic union, could depend on only a few thousand French votes. An immediate reaction to a no vote could be chaos on the foreign exchanges.
The Prime Minister, seeing the United States trade representative this evening, still thinks the Maastricht Treaty is a good deal for Britain. But if the French vote no, he'll recognise reality, admit that the treaty is dead and withdraw the bill before the British Parliament. That'll please the anti-Europeans in his own party, but it's also puzzling them. They thought the treaty died when the Danes rejected it.
Just to kick the Danes on one side and say they don't matter, and then to say that the French do matter, is of course precisely at the heart of the objection of the Danish people to the way they've been treated in the common market.
It's clear if the French do vote no, it'll cause turmoil on the already nervous foreign exchanges. Today the pound finished just above its floor in the ERM. Bank of England figures show they've already spent £642 million worth of foreign currency defending sterling, the largest amount for 3 years.
If we get a French yes on September the 20th, I think we'll get through it. By the skin of our teeth, we'll have got through it. If there's a French no, I'm afraid I expect a 1% rise in base rates.
A French no will also put severe pressure on the whole exchange rate mechanism.
I think it may be subjected to all sorts of pressures, and some of the pressures in the direction of realignment that people have talked about in the past will clearly be magnified in the moments immediately after a French rejection of Maastricht. But there is no case whatsoever for believing that British economic policy would be improved if the ERM were to fall apart.
This weekend, EC finance ministers meeting in Bath will work out contingency plans for a French no. It'll need concerted action to avoid chaos, possibly realigning currencies within the ERM or joint interest rate rises. The Prime Minister has been attacked for refusing an invitation to support President Mitterrand on French TV and put the case for Maastricht.
For him to stand at the side and wring his hands and say nothing, to refuse the invitation, because I think he's more frightened of the splits in his own party, rather than because he has at the front of his mind the best interests of the country and the future of Europe, is, I believe, not the act of a Prime Minister.
I think Mr. Major might be tempted to believe if the French vote no and Maastricht is finished, that solves his problems. It may solve for a short time his internal party political problems, but it can only exacerbate Britain's problems, in my view.
With the summer holidays over, politicians across Europe know that one way or another, this autumn is going to be dominated by the community's future, both political and economic. The stakes are high. If the French do vote no, it's difficult to see how the British, for one, can avoid an interest rate rise. If they vote yes, then it's down to John Major, holding the EC presidency, to try to rescue the Maastricht Treaty. And that won't be easy. Jo Andrews, News at 10, Westminster.
NATO said tonight it was offering the United Nations around 6,000 troops to protect relief convoys in Bosnia. They'd be under UN command. The government here has already offered up to 1,800 men. The leader of the Serbs in Bosnia, Mr. Radovan Karadzic, said he was putting all the big Serbian guns threatening towns like Sarajevo under UN observation, and they wouldn't fire unless the Serbs were attacked. Mr. Karadzic was criticised by his own people for ordering Serbian troops back from Gorazde too soon. Places like Rogatica are now in the front line of the conflict between Serbs and Muslims. David Rose reports from behind Serbian lines.
Just 3 miles south of Rogatica, Serb fighters slip carefully through the woods. They know the enemy are very close. Last night Muslims blew up this house. These Serbs are all local men defending, as they see it, their hometown and region.
The nearest Muslim fighters are less than a mile away from this Serb front position. This time last week, before the order to withdraw from Gorazde, the Muslims were 6 miles away. And these fighters are furious about that order, believing that it's allowed the Muslims to break through and that their town, the Serbs' nearest town, Rogatica, just 3 miles down the valley, will be the next to be attacked.
Rogatica looks like a peaceful little township, but Muslims used to live here until they all fled or were chased away. Now they're on their way back. The local Serb commander showed us where the Muslim fighters are advancing, mainly, he said, by penetrating the Serb lines at night to burn and kill. There must now be a real risk that these men will refuse to obey future orders from President Karadzic, who they blame for ending the siege of Gorazde. The withdrawal from Gorazde was a big mistake. It caused a massacre, and now the Muslims are taking up new positions around us. Rogatica could be the next town and region to be sacrificed, but we are going to defend it. Despite the criticism, President Karadzic is apparently continuing to implement peace agreements made in London. He's just announced that all the Serb heavy artillery around 4 Bosnian cities, including Sarajevo, will be collected under UN observers. So will the murderous shelling of Sarajevo now end?
We will defend ourselves when we are attacked. Only when we are attacked. We are not going to respond to any provocation.
The UN's deputy commander in Sarajevo seemed less sure.
I hope. Yes, I hope.
The president then invited ITN to visit one of the batteries overlooking Sarajevo. We found 4 howitzers easily capable of hitting the center of Sarajevo only 5 miles away. All were well dug in. No guns had been moved here recently as part of a collection process agreed in London. 3 UN soldiers are billeted nearby. They're supposed to monitor 5 firing positions like this one, an impossible task. And the Serbs did make a similar offer in July. That came to nothing. The shelling continued. One of the young Serbian artillerymen is actually firing on his own city. It was very difficult for me at first, but now I'm used to it. Anyway, I'd prefer to destroy my home rather than have the enemy live there. And tonight, Vojislav Šešelj, leader of the Serbian Radical Party, which wants most of Bosnia to be part of a greater Serbia, called for an end to any further peace concessions until the trade embargo against Serbia is lifted. David Rose, News at 10, Pale in Bosnia.
150 refugees from Bosnia, men, women and children, reached Britain tonight in 6 coaches. All had lost their homes in the Civil War. The rescue was the second organised by the Northampton headmaster, Mr. Gerald Smith.
High in the mountains of Austria, Gerald Smith leads another rescue mission towards the Slovenian border. Word had spread since his last successful trip. 150 people had driven, hitchhiked or even walked to find what they regard as at least temporary salvation from the war that's tearing their country apart. There was little time for farewells, more families splitting as the coaches began their long journey to Calais. Many of the refugees, exhausted by hours of travelling, brought with them memories of the destruction they'd left behind.
They lost job and flat and everything else, but we stay in life and we enough that it's the most important, that situation.
The coaches drove through the night to reach the ferries, facing the grey waters of the Channel, those who'd fled their homes, hopeful that they might yet return.
I want for my children to be safe here, and I want the war stop in Bosnia, and then I will come back to Bosnia.
This group are travelling on to 6 towns and cities from Yorkshire to Somerset, British families helping them to forget the scars of civil war. Gerald Smith believes the government must now step in.
The government are working very hard diplomatically, economically and militarily. I do hope they're able shortly to complete the equation and bring out 3,000 to 4,000 of these poor people.
And with winter now approaching, Mr. Smith believes his call grows ever more urgent. Robert Hall, News at 10, Dover.
The Foreign Secretary, Mr. Hurd, is expected to visit Somalia on Friday on his way back from South Africa. The overall aid effort by Europe, the UN, the United States and others has been widely criticised for being uncoordinated. And the civil war is still preventing supplies reaching some of the worst areas of famine. The aid agencies say Somalia needs 60,000 tonnes of food every month. At the moment, it's estimated that only 32,000 tonnes are getting through. Our Africa correspondent Jeremy Thompson visited the town of Wajit, where they are still waiting for help promised a month ago, and Baidoa, which is now getting relief.
The highway to Wajit, a rocky track through semi-desert scrub. It took us 5 hours to cover just 60 miles to one of Somalia's most isolated towns. As we reached this desolate place, Wajit looked almost deserted. But within minutes, hundreds had appeared, as if from nowhere. They emerged from the bush, lugging their pots, flocking round us in the hope that we had finally brought food. The elders told us that relief workers had surveyed Wajit and promised that food would soon follow. But still, nothing had reached them. Weeks ago, they set up feeding centres and waited for the relief to come. News of the American airlift raised expectations even more. Each day, they arrive at dawn in the hope that somebody's remembered them. But now, they don't even light the fires, as another day passes with no sign of food. In the kitchens, the only sustenance they can offer is camel skin to chew on.
If the new American relief effort is really going to make any difference, this is where it should be concentrated, the town of Wajit. The people here are in desperate need, yet so far they've not received a single bag of food.
Every day for the last month, those fit enough have come to Wajit's disused airfield to clean and mark it out, in the hope that relief planes will come before it's too late. Just 60 miles away in Baidoa, the airlift is gathering momentum. The Hercules transport planes thunder in from daybreak, up to 5 flights a day now, carrying some 90 tons. The International Red Cross, spearheading this massive relief operation, is spending a third of its annual budget on Somalia, nearly £100 million. Even before the food's unloaded, Edi Mohammed and her 4 children are heading for the feeding kitchen. It's an agonizing trek. They're almost too weak to walk. Yet if they're to survive, they know that they must reach that queue for their 1 meal a day. For the relief agencies, it's a race against time, setting up the infrastructure so that the growing food chain can be safely and effectively extended. Security is still the big problem. As the convoy called at this camp, there were already 34 shrouded corpses laid out beside the road. It was barely 7 in the morning. 120 had died here the day before. Despite the relief effort, Baidoa's body count was even higher now than when we last came 2 weeks ago.
A lot more needs to be done, as you can see. So many people are dying here every day just because of lack of food and lack of water. It's appalling. We're not getting on top of the problem. I would never think that. Not yet, it's too early.
The sheer scale of this tragedy has all but overwhelmed the handful of foreign aid workers around Baidoa. They need more help, more food, more medicine. Agencies like CARE and Concern are now concentrating on saving the lives of children, the most vulnerable group. Anita Ennis says it's the tiny improvements that keep her going.
Mohammed came on the 15th of August now. He's a real special. He was left for dead under the tree with the other dead bodies, and I just happened to pass by. And slowly, he's been improving. Now, I suppose when you look at him, you see his face, he's so gaunt, but that's very good. He's now up and walking. He really feels he owns the place here now, and he's getting a little bit bossy, aren't you? He also feels he owns me. He gets a little bit jealous.
So many children have been orphaned that aid workers warn they may need outside help for years to come. But for today, the only thought is keeping them alive. As the relief operation reaches one more village, a life-saving meal is rewarded with a smile. Jeremy Thompson, News at 10, Central Somalia.
Coming next on News at 10, another Briton is jailed by Iraq, this time for 10 years for illegal entry. The Foreign Office says Michael Wainwright's sentence doesn't fit the crime. A new test to give early warning of premature births could save hundreds of babies' lives. And the radio station that aims to make Mozart and Puccini as popular as Madonna and Prince.
Tastes so good first thing. You should get some for your Del Monte man.
Welcome to John Smith's Spot the Crime. Watch carefully and see if you can spot the serious crime. Is it A, B, C, or D? Well, did you spot it? Yes, of course you did. It was C, short measure on a pint of John Smith's, and you can't get more serious than that. Well, we can't go out on such a dismal picture, so we'll put it right for you. There. That's better, isn't it?
The new Fiesta XR 2i 16-valve, 105 horses, 1 cat. No bull.
What do you think?
Oh, Pet, it's very nice.
You've really gone to town this time.
Come and look at my new shower.
You are not going to soft-sort me about showers, are you? All you get is a pathetic little dribble.
Like your lot on Saturday.
Steady, young man.
They installed it really quickly. Looks great, doesn't it?
To be fair, it does.
How's that for power? What do you think? Brian? Brian?
You talked me into it, love. Wake up, you sleep.
If you want to shower electric, get down to East Midlands Electricity.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No! It's someone who's found a cheaper way of flying than with Thomson. No flight supplements on thousands of next summer's Thomson holidays from Birmingham and East Midlands. It could save a family of 4 over £120.
At FDC, thousands of items are now less than half price. Save £400 on the Sataki, now only $399. Save £540 on the Oasis. Leather suites from £1,000. So get down now and save hundreds of pounds at FDC in Derby, Mansfield Woodhouse, and now Nottingham Road, Baseford.
Mr. Michael Wainwright, the second Briton held by Iraq, has been sentenced to 10 years jail for entering the country illegally. The Foreign Office said it will protest in the strongest possible way. Mr. Wainwright, a 42-year-old labourer from West Yorkshire, was cycling to Australia when he was arrested in May.
Michael Wainwright's family had got together earlier to celebrate news that he'd been seen in Baghdad by the Red Cross and that he was alive and well. Then came a second call from the Foreign Office.
He told me to prepare myself for a shock, and I certainly didn't expect 10 years. And obviously my mum's absolutely gutted. When I was speaking to her, she was in tears. She just can't take it in.
Michael was arrested on a bicycle holiday after crossing from Turkey into northern Iraq. In a letter home, he said Iraqi authorities had let him in without a visa, then arrested him for illegal entry. Only last week, another Briton, Paul Ryde, was jailed for 7 years on a similar offence. Paul, seen here on a family holiday, had strayed across the border while on company business in Kuwait. Today, Mrs. Ryde said she was shocked to hear the Iraqis had passed another hefty sentence, but had been encouraged that the Red Cross had managed to pass her husband a message.
Just that I love him, I'm thinking of him, everyone at home is well.
But there was some encouraging news today from inside Iraq. Maurizio Zeffirero, the head of the UN inspection team, said that Iraq's nuclear program had finally been rendered harmless. Facilities had been destroyed by Allied military activity during the Gulf War and by UN inspectors.
A simple test to give early warning of premature births has started trials in Manchester, Leicester and London. It could save hundreds of babies' lives a year and prevent hundreds of others being born handicapped.
Margot Arthur has just given birth to triplets, 5 weeks prematurely. She believes a test to tell when the babies were due would have been wonderful, although baby Tom is still doing well.
Every pregnant woman actually goes through smear tests, internal examinations and scans to check the baby's progress. So it's not any different for the mother to actually go through another test, as it were.
80,000 babies are born prematurely every year. Pamela Ortega weighed just 2 pounds when she was born 12 weeks early. Her prospects are good, but over 2,000 premature babies die every year, and despite modern intensive care, many others suffer brain damage or lung disease. The new test could save some of those lives.
If we can get to the stage where a positive test is virtually certain of indicating a premature delivery, then I think one could confidently admit the patients, treat them in the way that we're doing now, as if they were in labour, and I think the results would be very good.
The test now on trial in British hospitals involves taking a swab from the cervix. If a protein called fibronectin produced by the fetus is detected, the mother will probably give birth within 2 weeks. A positive result shows up as a coloured ring. After a positive test, doctors say they could use drugs to delay the birth or could give mothers steroids to help the newborn baby's chances of survival. The result could also help prepare mothers, like Christine Greenwood, whose son Brett was the most premature baby ever to survive in Britain. born 17 weeks early, weighing only 1 pound 5 ounces.
This test is a really good thing because you really need help when you're going to have a baby like so premature. You need to see other babies in units and everything, and this test will give you the opportunity to do that.
The new test is still on trial, but if it works, it could save hundreds of tiny lives.
Now a quick look at other stories in the news. Buckingham Palace said tonight that a new press story on the Princess of Wales was pure fiction. The London Evening Standard said the Princess visited her friend Mr James Gilby at a secluded farmhouse in the past 3 months. The Palace said it was simply not true. The Princess had not visited Mr Gilby and had never been to the farmhouse. A British man sentenced to 100 years in prison in Thailand for murder is back home after a royal amnesty. Mr Carl Maxwell Smith, who served 5 years, saw his granddaughter today for the first time. He says his wife's death, she fell from a 10th floor balcony, was an accident. The BBC's Director General, Sir Michael Checkland, has confirmed he's talking with B-Sky B about setting up a 24-hour satellite television news service. Sir Michael also pledged to keep the soap opera El Dorado, saying it was unsatisfactory but would improve in time.
BBC Radio is about to face competition from a new quarter with the launch of the country's first national commercial station, and it's dedicated to converting a large audience to classical music. Classic FM believes the way to do it is with a decidedly non-stuffy format, and the station insists that BBC Radio 3 is not the competition. It wants to win listeners from Radio 1 and Radio 4. We hope to have a report on that a little later in the bulletin. Some soccer news now. Manchester United's £1 million striker Dion Dublin was carried off on a stretcher tonight after suffering a broken leg in a tackle from Crystal Palace's Eric Young. United went on to win the match 1-0.
The button-top drink can has arrived and could soon make ring-pull cans a thing of the past. Now, that might not sound the most amazing advance, but drink cans are big business. Nearly 4 billion are sold every year. The new cans are all steel. As David Chater reports, the makers say it's the first breakthrough in canned drink for 25 years.
The ring-pull can first burst onto the scene in 1967 and has been dominating the market ever since. But now it could be consigned to the dustbin of history. The usurper on the shelves is the so-called button-top can. It's all steel, so it's environmentally friendly as well as being user-friendly. All of them, though, end up in the dustbin. Environmentalists would prefer reusable bottles, but the cans are here to stay. The aluminium ones are hard to separate for recycling. With the steel ones, though, a magnet does the job for you. The developers are marketing it as the ultimate can, the can of the future.
In a nutshell, it's a very, very simple two-step opening mechanism. Pop, pop, and you're there.
The British canned soft drink market has nearly quadrupled over the last decade. It's a battleground known as the fizz war. The makers of aluminium hold 60% of the market so far, but the steel makers now hope to turn the tables. There is a lot of money at stake. Everyone drinks an average of 118 pints of fizzy soft drinks every year. But what does the average consumer make of the latest weapon in the fizz war?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it seems all right. There's not those ring pulls to cut anything, I suppose. Well, it sort of works.
David Chater, News at 10, Central London.
Bit squidgy.
And with some apologies, we can now return to the report on the launch of Classic FM. A report now from Joan Thurkettle.
This is Classic FM, the world's most beautiful music.
The sound of Britain's new commercial station, its promise as it prepares to launch on Monday to bring Mozart, or in this case Handel, to the masses. These are nerve-wracking days with gremlins in the equipment hindering rehearsals. Classic FM's approach is unashamedly popular. The hum line will deal with any kind of musical challenge.
It goes like this. We think it might be Mozart. It goes like this. Da-da-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-da-da-dum.
Michael, thanks for calling. Not Mozart, here it is, Boccherini's Minuet.
Interspersed with the music, requests and celebrity interviews, travel, weather and news.
Except on television commercials and before football matches, no one ever gets a chance to hear it in that way. It's always prefixed and surrounded in the concert hall or in other places by men in white ties and long-tailed coats. We're not going to be like that. We're going to be casual, informal, friendly, accessible, direct.
Classic FM say it's not in direct competition with Radio 3. It aims to lure listeners from all stations. The BBC's attempt to sharpen up its act has its critics.
In a moment, Sinfoniettes by Barclay and Poulenc.
More changes are on the way to make it sound less stuffy. There's a nationwide advertising campaign. With just under 3 million listeners, many argue it's an expensive luxury. Radio 3 has an annual budget of 49 million, which comes from the BBC licence fee. Classic FM will have an annual budget of 6 million, and they'll have to rely on advertising and sponsorship.
Radio 3 is a very expensive service, and there is no doubt that Classic FM will provide a stream of classical music far more cheaply than Radio 3 can or will. But we're not just in the business of providing a stream of classical music, we're investing the money that we spend in the cultural life of the country.
Radio 3's artistic record is formidable. Every single Promenade concert is broadcast live. Classic FM would find it difficult to match this, but they promise live music every day. To survive, they must secure listeners and advertising in the face of the worst recession the industry has known.
I think it's tough. The first year or two are going to be the telling ones. It's important it attracts a reasonable level of audience. I think it will survive as long as the investors in the station are prepared to back it for 2 to 3 years without expecting it to turn in a high level of profit.
Classic FM see Radio 3 as the Savoy, themselves as McDonald's. But then they add, who do you think makes the money? Joan Thurkettle, News at 10, Central London.
The main news again, Downing Street made it clear that if France rejects the Maastricht Treaty, it won't be put to Parliament here.
And that's News at 10. From Nicholas and from me, a very good night to you.
You may be looking for a car that's small and practical. But you still want a car that feels luxurious. Well, now you've found it, because while the Clio is certainly small, it's perfectly formed. The Renault Clio.
I don't suppose you sell 8mm cine projectors, do you?
Shouldn't think so. What's it for?
Showing this.
Funny looking video.
Well, do you know where I might get hold of one?
8mm projector. I sold one only last week. Don't know when another might turn up.
Sometimes to solve a problem, you need to approach it from a different angle.
Video.
Good old Yellow Pages. We can help in all kinds of unexpected ways.
Hello, Harper's. Can you transfer some old 8mm cine film to video? You can. Happy birthday, Mum.
What have we here? Naughty videos.
Let's see, shall we?
He was a good-looking fellow, your dad.
How can you tell if you're wearing the right pant liner? When you can hardly feel it at all. With an Always pant liner, you can feel so fresh and dry anytime. It's almost as if it's not there at all. That's because Always has a revolutionary top sheet dry weave, which lets moisture in and almost nothing back. With Always pant liners, you feel so fresh and dry. You almost can't feel anything. Always pant liners. All you feel is really fresh and dry.
Jamie, I hope you're not walking mud all over my nice clean floors.
Oh, Carol, girls are more resourceful than boys. I've noticed that in the classroom.
Yeah, well, in marriage, they have to be.
Why is that?
Because we have to look after the men as well as the kids.
Jamie!
Kleenex toilet tissue, one of life's little comforts.
Entertaining can sometimes be a bit of a drag. That's why I insisted on a new gas built-in oven. Okay, Jonathan, pizzas are ready. It's got a ceramic grill, which means you have a large area to cook with. On the outside, it stays cool, and on the inside, it helps clean itself. Unlike this lot. But the best thing is it has a fan-assisted oven, which gives it an even temperature throughout. Don't you just love being in control?
Top model Rachel Hunter has it, the clean, fresh, natural look of today, the CoverGirl look. Now, CoverGirl Cosmetics introduces new, remarkable lipstick, a distinctly new kind of color, so rich you can feel it. The result of a micro-concentrate formula for the richer look of more color to the color. Experience colors so rich you can feel it. New, remarkable lipstick, clean, fresh, natural. That's the look of CoverGirl.
Hello there. Well, brighter weather's on the way for all of us tomorrow, but we are going to find a fair old sprinkling of showers with it. And that's all because low pressure's very much in control up here, bringing down these cool, cold and chilly winds and unstable winds across the whole of the country. So showers for many places tomorrow. Tonight we've still got some showers working their way down, particularly in these more northern western coastal areas and over some of the hills. And as you can see, those temperatures falling quite a bit, so quite a chilly night compared to that of late. And still quite a breezy night as well down in the more southern counties of England. Tomorrow morning we start fairly nice, bright and breezy, and in many places a lot of good sunshine down the more eastern side of the country. Showers probably from the word go over northern and western parts of Scotland and across into Northern Ireland. Some of those showers then pushing down that western coast. And during the afternoon I think quite a bit more cloud into the west with some showers or even longer periods of rain for a time. Some of the showers could well in fact be quite heavy. The east staying basically dry, but again some showers will push eastwards as the day progresses. Now temperature wise it's going to be a fairly chilly day tomorrow in many places, particularly those northwesterly winds. The best of the temperatures probably down in the more southern counties, 17 there. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think certainly you need your winter woolies up in the north and west. So a rather cool day tomorrow for many places, but I think more sunshine for all of us. Good night.
Good evening, now the news from Central. A breakthrough which could help save the lives of hundreds of premature babies is to go on trial at a hospital in the East Midlands. The technique allows doctors to identify in advance women who'll give birth early. Sam Whiten knows the pain and anguish of giving birth to a premature baby. Her tiny son Jacob was born 12 weeks early. Doctors at the Leicester Royal Infirmary weren't sure whether he'd survive. Today, 3 months on, Jacob is almost well enough to go home. But Sam will never forget the trauma of those early days.
I just kept on thinking, well, he's not mine, because you don't have the bond like you do with a newborn. You can cuddle a newborn, you can't when they're in the incubator.
Just a few hundred yards from the neonatal unit where Jacob's life was saved, scientists believe they may have made a breakthrough. 2 years ago, a team led by Professor John McVicker identified a protein present only in women who are less than 4 weeks from going into labour. It's there even if the birth is premature. Now an American firm has used the discovery to develop a test which provides advance warning of when a woman is to give birth. The test will shortly go on trial in Britain, with Leicester one of 3 hospitals involved.
If this test will tell us that a particular patient is going to go into labour within the next 3 to 4 weeks, then we might be able to do something about that.
Detectives are hunting armed robbers who tied up 3 post office workers before stealing registered mail in a robbery early today. Police say the raid was well planned.
The raiders were wearing dark overalls and ski masks when they burst into the Briton Street sorting office at Worksop in Nottinghamshire.
2 staff were working sorting mail, and 4 intruders broke in, tied them up, covered their heads, and later on, about an hour later, One of our drivers came back from Sheffield with mail, and they were waiting for him, and he was also tied up.
Detectives say the raid was almost certainly planned.
Very serious. Weapons were used. A sawn-off shotgun was seen. Very harrowing experience for the 3 employees. We think it's been planned from what we now know, probably over a matter of weeks.
Security at the sorting office will now be reviewed to see if any alterations are required.
A demonstration has been held at the start of a public inquiry into the future of a sports stadium. The site owners want to turn the arena into a business park.
They were out in force at Long Eaton Town Hall in Derbyshire today. Protesters say the multi-million-pound redevelopment plan would destroy a historic part of the community's heritage. Long Eaton Stadium has entertained thousands of fans at its spectator events.
At the present time, I've had no one who I know of who wants the place closed, only Northern Sports.
But the site owners say the protesters' fears are groundless.
They won't be losing it, because once we provide the alternative site with better facilities, they will have their sport. If it stays as it is, it will die. Surely, if the present stadium is losing money, how on earth are they going to afford to build a new one? Which just shows you what a sham this talk about a new stadium is. It's just a figment of somebody's imagination.
The government inspector hearing evidence at the inquiry is to visit the stadium later this week. He's expected to announce his decision on its future on Friday.
A test match cricket ground is planning to stage a pop concert to pay for improvements. If Nottinghamshire's Trent Bridge ground is to retain its test match status, facilities have to be improved. Club officials have planned a pop concert. Phil Collins and Elton John are among the star names being linked to the event next summer. It's hoped around 80,000 people will attend. Now, tonight's football, just 2 matches, but 10 goals. Here they are.
6 in the Anglo-Italian Cup tie at the baseball ground. Short with the first for Notts County. Then Paul Williams levelled the scores for Derby. Mark Pembridge with a wicked free kick put the home side ahead. But Don O'Riordan made it 2-2 by half-time. Paul Simpson gave Derby a 3-2 advantage on the hour. And Marco Gabbiadini came off the bench to make the final score. Derby County 4, Notts County 2, Derby's first win of the season. In the other Anglo-Italian tie at Filbert Street, Bobby Davison put Leicester on the way to a crushing win over Grimsby, a goal in the 24th minute. Phil G scored number 2 after 36 minutes. And 3 minutes later, Davison grabbed his second to make it 3-0 at half-time. Leicester eased off in the second half, but 9 minutes from time, G scored his second. Leicester 4, Grimsby 0.
And that's the news so far this evening. We're back with our next bulletin at 5 to 10 tomorrow morning. For the moment, from all of us at Central News and East Midlands, do have a very good evening.
Saturday actually looks like a day worth waiting for. Till then, though, we've got more of these showers. Still a fair few of them around at the moment, but most of them will start to ease up after midnight, just the northwest hanging on to them through the night. Clearing skies mean we'll get down to a chilly 7 Celsius, but they also mean quite a sunny start to tomorrow morning. You will have to be up early to see them, though, because cloud will soon develop. There'll be showers by midday, and then just lots of cloud and not so much in the way of sun for the afternoon. The northwest of the region getting to see quite a lot of those showers tomorrow. And the winds are starting to turn more northwesterly through the day, which sounds too much like autumn coming for my liking, but it means that the high of 61 will feel quite chilly. More rain through tomorrow night, followed by another cool, breezy, showery day on Friday, and again that high of 61 with the northwesterly wind means another cool one.
Crime. To most of us, thankfully, it's just something that happens in movies and on TV. Or it happens to someone else. It never happens to us. But it happens all around us, every day, in every city and every town. So the next time you hear a police siren, the chances are it's the start of another crime story. Watch out for it on Friday nights, soon, on Central.
No, you can't put that in there. It's fine china.
Yes, I can. Wedgwood approve Finish Ultra because it cleans and cares for patterns like this.
Says who?
Says here. Okay.
Wedgwood?
Brilliant cleaning starts with Finish.
Secure, especially with the little flaps. I like them.
Joe Reed has discovered Always Plus, a revolutionary towel with wings.
You can trust them all day. They feel dry and fresh.
Always Plus has a revolutionary one-way dry weave top sheet, which extends into protective wings that wrap around the sides of your underwear and hold the towel securely in place. Dry weave draws virtually everything into the towel, so the surface stays fresh and dry, and you have the extra protection of wings.
For me, I can wear them when I'm riding and running around all the time, and I can forget about them.
Always Plus. Always fresher, always drier, plus the extra protection of wings.
The King's Fusiliers are back on parade.
Great being back with your mate, isn't it?
Paddy Garvey's the name, defender of the realm. The thinking woman's Bruce Willis.
You ready, Lieutenant?
Sir.
Oh, yes. Soldier, back soon on Central.
Now the continuation of the Wednesday premiere, Betrayed.
Hey, Teresa.
Morning. Where you been?